Okay, here is our third card, and I think this one is my favorite out of the set. I just love the pink little girl and the pink trees. And I actually do quite a few Christmas cards with pastel colors like this, just because I get tired of the old red and green. So this one is using, for the gnome hat here, it's using the new Gingham Cottage designer paper. It's a set of 48 sheets, 12 double-sided designs, and it's got 7 different colors in it. So this is the not 30 Flamingo, Blushing Bride, and that's what we're going to use today. Okay, so to get started here, you're going to get a piece of 5.5 by 8.5 cardstock, scored in the middle at 4 1/4 for the card base. You're going to get a piece of Blushing Bride cardstock cut at 4 by 5 1/4 for the panel on top of the card base, which you can see it right here, this panel here. Then you're going to get a panel of white cardstock that's going to go on top of that one. And that's the one that you see here in the background where I've sponged on the Blushing Bride. Okay, so that's going to be the front. And then you're going to get another piece, and this one is just actually a scrap. I think it's about 2 3/4 by 5.5. And what you're going to do with this is where we're going to be cutting it, not cutting it, but I'm ripping it in 2 pieces. And we're going to actually be making this snowbank. And you can see that the first layer here is glued down, but this one here is put on with pop dots, so that way we have room to slide our little girl gnome in there. Okay, and then let's see, let's get this out of the way. And you're going to have another piece of white. This is just a scrap also to cut out, to stamp and cut out the gnome in the Whisper White. Now the reason we did this, I went ahead and cut this one out. The reason we're going to do 2, we're going to have one in white, and that's going to be the gnome that's right here on the bottom. Then we're going to get out one out of the checkered piece of paper, and with this one we're going to be cutting off the hat and just the braids. The rest of it's going to go in the garbage. And when we cut it out, we're going to be pop dotting this one up to the white hat, and you'll see that in a minute. And then we're going to be gluing on the braids to the little girl. I like to use this technique, this paper piecing technique, because you can, you don't have to color, but you can color and use designer paper, but you can get all kinds of different images with that. Okay, and then you're going to have another piece of the Blushing Bride, and that is to cut these 4 trees out of. Now, I used the trees from the Majestic Mountains die set. You can use any trees. You don't have to use the same one I did. I like this set, but when you use these trees as a die cut, as you can see, there's a lot of little tiny spaces in here. And sometimes, even though you're using your the right plates and you're using a shim even, you'll have to poke out some of those little pieces. So that's the only thing bad about this die set. All the rest works fine. This actually works fine, it's just tedious. So I've gone ahead and cut out 4 of those, so I didn't have to punch the pieces out in front of you. And like I said, you're going to use 4 of those. Now, if you do not have this die set, like I said, you can use any trees. You can actually even stamp them. If you don't have a die cut for the trees, you can stamp the trees on the background. Alright, so let's get started here. Get those out of my way. Okay, so first thing you're going to do here is you're going to take your base, your white cardstock that you've scored and folded at 4 1/4, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to glue on this first panel of the Blushing Bride. So I'm going to get my multi-purpose glue here, and it's going to go in like 1/4 inch, put a little line around there, And that's all I do. Let's get this one a little thin, so I'm just going to put a little bit there. Okay, and then I'm going to lay this on my card. Now, this card is going to go in the landscape direction. But if it was going to go in the portrait direction, when I glue the base on, I still am going to turn it this way because you get more of a, oh, I don't know what to call it. You get more area in order to line up your card panel on the front. So I'm going to lay it down, and I like to just line up the tops and the sides, and I know it's cut correctly because I've already measured. So then the bottom just goes right where it's supposed to be. Okay, and then I'm going to take my bone folder again, and I'm going to spread the glue out here. All four corners and all four sides. Okay, I'm going to lay this one aside just for a minute here. I'm going to go ahead and take this other piece of white cardstock that's going to go on the top here. And we're going to go ahead and we are going to sponge some Blushing Bride ink on there. Now, you want to make sure you have enough ink on your pad before you get started. You want it, you know, juicy so you can get the ink up. And I like to take a piece of paper and put it down because I don't want to get my work surface dirty. And when you're sponging the ink on, we're going to be sponging like in the middle. But after you put the ink on the sponge, you want to tap it a couple times because you don't want a big blob in the middle of your card. So you want to tap it. That's why I like to have this scrap paper over here. I'm going to take my sponge and I'm just going to ink it up. You can see, just putting ink on here. Just like that. And you want to start out light because you can always go back and make it darker, but you cannot make it lighter. So I'm just going to bounce it off a couple times, and I'm going to just start right in here, and all I'm going to do is just make like an oval shape. Now you can see that it's really light right now, and that's good because I don't want it to get too dark. Okay, I don't know if you can even see that, it's so light. I'm going to take some more ink on here. I'm going to tap it off, and then again I'm going to start in there, and you can see that it's starting to get darker now. Doesn't matter, oops, oh no, I got ink on my finger, I guess. Doesn't matter which direction you go in when you're doing it. You just want to get the ink off the brush onto the paper. Okay, just do a little bit more on there, tap it off, and then I'm going to try to get some more up there near the top. I don't want it on the whole sheet. I just want it to be like in the middle part. Just gotta spread it out here. And I got some more on there. Shoot, I'm gonna have to. What in the world's on my fingers? Well, I'll turn it over when I get ready to use it and do it again. But anyway, so that's all you're gonna do. You're just gonna put on ink, and you can get it as light as you want, as dark as you want. Okay, and again, I'm just going around in an oval shape. I don't want it to be all the way over to the sides. I just want it to be in the middle like this. Okay, I hope you can see that. And you can see where I got these smudges from someplace. I guess my fingernail. Okay, all right, so that's it for that. Then you're going to go ahead and you're going to, I'm not going to glue this down because I'm going to do it over, but you're going to glue it onto your card front like here. Okay. All right, actually, you know what? I'm not going to do it over. I'm going to put this at the bottom, and that will not show. So I'm going to put a little bit more ink here towards the top. Forgot I was going to add that snow on there. So I'm just going to add some ink up here a little bit. There we go. Right, now that's dark enough. I don't want it any darker than that. I just want it to be, and this is very nice for making sky blue or different colors, sunset. These brushes are very easy to use. This is not actually from Stampin' Up. This is one that I already had. So I didn't buy any more because I had like 15 of these already. So, but Stampin' Up's brushes are very nice as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this Blushing Bride ink up. And I'm going to lay this to this side. Well, actually, I'm going to go ahead and glue it on while I got it here. So just do that. Put the glue again. The reason I don't go across like this is a lot of times you can see like you don't get it smoothed out enough, or you didn't you let it dry too slowly and before you put it on the card, and it leaves little ridges in there. So I don't like to go on the sides. I mean the inside, I just go on the sides, and that's really all the ink you need. So go ahead, put this down here. There we go. Now, okay, there we go. The card front. All right, and so I'm just gonna put this aside. We're gonna work on this snow for a minute. So what I did first is I took my strip of cardstock and I went into my Stamparatus. I've already got it all set up here. So I can use it. Put it open here. All right, now on this card I'm going to be using black StazOn ink. The reason I am using this is because I am not going to use blends, and I'm not going to be blending. I'm just going to use my Stampin' Write markers. I only need 2. I'm using the Blushing Bride and the Pool Party. That's all I'm going to use for my markers. So I'm going to use the StazOn so it doesn't smear, because these are water-based inks. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I've got my paper here. Let's see, I think I've lined that up. Yeah. So I'm going to just stamp Warm Wishes on the bottom part that I'm going to use on the this popped up piece of snow here. So I've already got it set to where I want it, and I'm just going to take my StazOn. I don't like to use StazOn a lot because it stains your stamps if you're not really quick wiping it off. But sometimes you just have to. If you're not going to emboss, then you have to do it. Okay, so I'm just going to ink that up. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and place it down on my paper. I'm just going to give it a little squish there. Put that up, and it's dark enough. So right away, I'm going to take my rag and I want to clean that off so that the StazOn does not stain my stamp too much. It does that with a lot of the colors, especially on the photopolymer stamps, the clear ones. A lot of the darker colors will stain them. Now, one way to get away from that is, a lot of times I don't do it because it's just an extra step, but if you take your Versamark ink, and you place it on your stamp first, and then you put your StazOn on top of it and stamp it, and then wash it off, it comes out really nicely. Comes off, I'm sorry, very easily, and you still get a nice image. Okay, so where they go, that one here. Now, let me make sure. I don't think I cut this piece for my card the right space. No, I did not. So you want it to be the same size as the top layer, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this. It's 5 inches across, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it to 5 inches. Yours will be already cut for you, so you don't have to worry about that. And I'm going to cut it here at 5 inches so it fits on my card. And then all you're going to do is you're going to take and you're going to hold it here, and you want to tear it towards you. Tear the paper towards you. So the outermost layer that's pop dotted is going to be smaller than the back layer that's going to be glued. So you want to do it at like about 3/4 of your paper. So I'm just going to start right in here, and I'm just going to tear. And I don't want it to be straight, so I'm just, tearing it so that it looks like it's actually newly fallen snow, because we know that's not even. Okay, and so then this piece here, you've torn it off. You want to flip it over because you want this rough edge at the top here. So I'm going to go ahead and Actually, this is a little bit big. I don't want it quite so tall, so I'm just going to cut a little bit off of there so it's not so high. I'm going to cut maybe 1/4 of an inch. But like I said, yours will be cut to the right dimensions already. Okay, so now this is the part here. So I'm going to be gluing this down here on this side here. And I'm just going to use my regular glue to glue it down. But I'm only going to put glue around this edge here and this edge here. I'm going to leave this top edge without any glue because I want to be able to place my trees like underneath, like this, so that they're sort of in the background. That way I can just push them down wherever I want them, okay? So I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it after I put this top layer on. And again, I'm just going to take my liquid glue and I'm going to put it around the edge here. Okay, just remember, you don't want to put it on the top part, but you do want to put it up to the top so that it sticks there. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lay this down on my card base. I'm so glad that I saw that this mark was going to be covered up and I didn't have to do it over. Haha. Okay. Always, well, almost always fix your mistakes because there aren't too many mistakes in card making, but that could be one of them. Okay, so now this part here is going to be pop dotted up on top. Again, I'm going to put the pop dots just on the edges here because I want to be able to slip my little girl down inside here so that she looks like she's standing a little bit of distance away from the trees. Now, you don't have to, if you don't want to, you don't have to do your gnome like I have mine. You can actually just keep it like this if you want. But I wanted the hat and the braids to be with the checks. So I went ahead and cut it out. Easy to do. You're just going to take your paper snips, if I can find mine. I don't see them right now, so I'll just use these. But all you're going to do is you're just going to take and you're going to cut just right outside the line on the hat here, where the braids are. You don't want to cut into the braids, so make sure you stay on the line. Then you're going to cut around the nose here. Believe me, it's a lot easier with your paper snips. Mine are around here under this mess somewhere. Okay, I'm going to go on this side because I can see it better. And you're just going to cut on the line again. And go all the way around the nose. There we go. Okay, there's my hat. And now I'm just going to cut the braids as well. So I'm just going to get my scissors and just go up. You don't have to worry about it being perfect because this is a card and braids are not straight. So I'm just going to be cutting around the outside here very easily. Easy. I know a lot of people don't like to cut, but I love fussy cutting. I used to do it all the time when I was teaching. And I'm going to cut this one off here. Well, I didn't want to do this beforehand because I wanted you to see just how easy it is to do. And there we go. Now after I get both the outsides cut, then I'm going to go back inside and I'm just going to cut the inside of the braid here. Sure would be easier with my paper snips. And you want to go ahead and you want to cut all the way up to the top. Now, when I lay them down, I'm going to make sure I put them in the right spot so that when I go to glue it on my little girl, they are not backwards. Okay, so I know this one here is on the left side, and this one is on the right side. There we go. And get out of there. Alright, so I got my left side and I got my right side, and I gotta cut a little point off of this one that I got. Okay, so my left side and my right side. Alright, now I'm going to stamp my white gnome, which I already did, but now I'm not sure where it went. Alright, anyway, okay, so I've got my stamp already on my other glass piece, well, not glass, plastic piece of my Stamparatus. Okay, now remember I'm going to use the StazOn because I'm using the markers, which are water-based. I'm just going to stamp my there. Now I should really have something even under here so that I get the ink on evenly. Oops, let's move the paper over a little bit there. Okay, and I'm just going to stamp right there. Now, you see I made a mistake here because I didn't put my magnet down and my paper moved. Luckily for me, these braids here where I didn't get enough ink are going to be covered up, so I'm not going to worry about that. But if I had used the magnet like I was supposed to, I could have put more ink on my stamp and stamped it again. Like I told you, I should have something even underneath my panel here so that the ink goes on the stamp evenly. Okay, so this out of my way here. Now, get that out of the way here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to color the parts that I want colored. Remember, I'm only going to color the little skirt here, and I'm not going to use the blends. Like I said, I'm just going to put it down here like this. Really easy. Okay. And that's all there is to the apron. And then I'm going to do the shoes here. It's a pink as well. There we go. And I want to do the little belt on the apron. There we go. Now the shirt is going to be in the blue, so I'm going to go ahead and just color that as well. Lightly lay down some ink. Not a lot of deep color. I'm trying to keep it light pastel. Okay, and then I got her collar here. And a little bit of a shirt that you can see here. And then I'm going to take the black, since there's not enough on, wasn't enough on my pad. Oh wait, I forgot the skirt. I need to do this too. There we go. Just a little bit of coloring. Also, on the other ones, I did not show you coloring the flesh part. Now, you can use any color you want. Stampin' Up! Does have the flesh colored blends, but these are some that I already had, so I'm just going to use these. This is it's a flesh color as well. So all you're going to do is, of course, just you're going to color in the nose here. And you can see my ink is smearing a little bit because this is not a water-based ink. This is a dye ink. So be careful about that. Just going to color the hands there. And the face in here. Oops, in there. Okay. Alright, now I've already got the hat cut out, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my Stampin' Dimensionals and I'm going to go ahead and just put that off. If you're wondering why my paper is different, it's because this is an old just some old paper that I had that I wanted to use up. I only had a little bit left, so I want to use it up first before I open my new package. So I'm just going to put, you don't have to even put these. If you got the mini glue dots, the tiny one, or not glue dots, but the mini dimensionals, those work even better. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take these off here. And I'm going to go ahead and just glue this here. Now, I am not cutting this out. I probably should. Yeah, let me go ahead and cut it out because it's easier to show you that way. So I'm going to get my little girl here and a piece of my Post-it tape. I've been using this same pieces for about a month now. And I use my Big Shot, my Stamp and Emboss machine probably every single day. Okay, I'm going to line that up. Put it in there. Okay. I'm just going to put that down there so it stays. Let me run this through the emboss machine. I'll be right back. I'd much rather be doing my classes in person, but because I don't have a venue in which to do it right now, and my house is being remodeled and it's still not finished, so I don't want to bring people over here, I'm doing it online. I was doing it at actually in Hobby Lobby in their craft room, but they are not opening it up. They have used it for storage. Okay, so I've cut the hat out, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to just line it up here where the hat is on the one I did on the white, and put it over there. Okay, press it down. And now I've got the braids here, and let's see, I know I have mini glue dots somewhere. There they are. Okay, so I'm going to use the mini glue dots for this. And take one off here. Kind of hard to handle, especially when you have nails, which, excuse me for my nails, I need to do them again, but something came up and I couldn't go to my appointment yesterday. Alright, so I'm going to just put, oops, get off me. That one there, and that one there. Take off the covering. Okay, and this one is the one on the right. I'm just going to stick it underneath there just a tad bit, and then I'm going to put it under there, pop that down. Okay. And then I'm going to do the other one the same way. Use the mini dimensionals. Get off there. It's so hard with these nails. Okay. Take off the backing, and again, I'm going to just stick it right under the edge there. And I'm going to place it over top of it. There we go. Now she's got her braids, she's colored, and she's ready to be put on the card when I'm ready for her. Okay, so now for the trees. Okay, I have cut out 4 trees, and again, you can stamp them. You don't have to cut them out because they're just going to be laying flat. They're not going to be popped up with dimensionals or anything. Let me see, where did my, there it is. Okay, now I have a little hint for you here. You can use the tiny thing of glue. see it right now, but anyway, it's a little tiny glue the Stampin' Up! Has. This is not Stampin' Up!, but it's like it. So you could use that, but it's a lot harder, I think. So what I like to do is I like to move these out of the way for a minute. I like to take my silicone craft sheet and take the trees, and this is going to be the back of one of the trees. I'm going to go in ahead, and first, before I put it on here, I'm going to take my little tool here, and I'm going to put it underneath the top layer of the snow, so that way I can put my tree underneath when I'm ready. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to take, I have a sponge that's designated for glue. You can use a sponge dauber, whatever. This one is designated for glue. That's all I use it for. Get the hair off of there. And what I like to do is I just take my multi-purpose liquid glue. I'm going to put a little dot of glue up here on the top of my silicone craft sheet. And the reason I love using this is because it just wipes right off and you don't have to worry. Okay, so I'm going to turn the tree over to the back. I'm going to pick up the glue with my sponge, and I'm just going to hold my tree, and I'm going to just sponge down here. Now, as you can see, it's plenty sticky, and I'm just going to take it underneath my card here, and I want it to go down a ways because I don't want it to go over the top of the card. And you could also cut the bottom off if it was too much trouble to do this. You could just cut the bottom off and make it shorter, but I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, I actually should because I wanted it down a little bit lower, like this, so I'm a little bit lower. Actually, I see my snow is a little bit higher here, so I am going to just take and snip this one off a little bit here. Again, I'm going to put this in here so I can lift up the paper. I'm going to take another dot of glue, put it on my craft sheet, my silicone craft sheet here, and I'm going to pick it up with the sponge, and again, I'm just going to daub it on my tree. And then I'm going to stick that one in there. Yeah, it's better with the bottom cut off so I can get it a little bit lower. Okay, after I get it on there, I want to take this out of the way. I'm going to take my bone folder again, and I'm just going to press it down. Make sure it's got a good solid glue base. Now, these mats are so nice. All you have to do is take the rag and just wipe the glue right off. Or you can even wash it in the sink, whichever is easier. Okay, now I'm going to do the other two trees the same way. I'm going to cut off the bottom a little bit so not so hard to get under there. You can see on my card here that I already did, and the one we're doing now, how much deeper my snow is, and that's why not as much of the trees are showing. Alright, so let me get the next tree. I'm going to turn it over, put my glue on there again. You don't want to get too much glue because you just need a little bit. Pick it up with my sponge and hold on to my tree and just dab it on the back. This glue sticks really well, so you don't have to worry too much. Get that out of the way again, and take my card, and I'm just going to put that under there. Now, you don't want all your trees to be at the same exact height because trees are not at the same exact height. So just, kind of stagger them a little bit. And then we're going to do one more, a little bit more glue. Okay, pick it up with a sponge. And technically, I should be cleaning the mat off between each use so that it doesn't get glue on the outside of my trees. Get off my finger there. And I forgot to stick this under here. I'm going to lift that up a little bit here, and I'm just going to go ahead and stick my last tree. Let's get out of there. In here. I didn't put this one over quite far enough, so that's why I'm not having as much room for this one. It's really hard to do a card on camera, for me anyway. A lot of people make it seem so easy, but I really have a hard time. Even if I write down every single step, when I go to put it together, it usually always comes out differently. Alright, so we got this, clean this off again. Let's wipe it off here. Let it dry, and we'll use it later. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead, and I've got my top layer of snow here with my greeting on it, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put dimensionals on this as well. And remember, we're not going to put them across the top because I want to be able to stick my little girl in there. I'm going to put at the bottom here, here, and here, and here. And I'm going to be putting her on this side of my card, so I want to make sure I don't get dimensionals over there. But I do want to put another one in here so that it folds better. Okay, I think I'll also take one of the mini dimensionals and I will put it right here in this spot here. There we go. Okay, now it's ready to put on the bottom of my card. All I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the bottom here like this and then just press it down. So, okay, there, there. I hope my head's not in your way too much. Okay, now, again, I love to use my bone folder. So I'm going to turn the whole card over and I'm just going to smash it down to make sure those dimensionals are sticking really well. Now we are ready for, you can do this one of two ways. You can go ahead and put the girl in here now. And I'm going to pop dot her as well. I think I'll move her over this way just a little bit. Or you can go ahead and put your, what's it called? I forgot the name of it. Wink of Stella on there. I don't know if you can see it, but you see a little glitter there on the top. So you can do that first or second. So I did mine second. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my pop dots for my little girl here. And I'm going to use a mini one up on the top of her hat. And then I'm going to use some larger ones below. Now, because this top layer is popped up, I don't want to put dimensionals down here on the bottom where it's going to stick in between here, because I don't want it to stick up and be uneven or be at a slant if I do that. So I'm just putting the dimensionals up here where it's going to be above the little snowbank there. I'm going to go ahead and take these off here. And then I'm just going to go ahead and stick, oh, my tree's crooked. I'm going to go ahead and lift this up, this layer up, and I'm just going to stick her down here just so that she's barely below it. Okay, again, I'm going to turn my card over, take my bone folder, and make sure the dimensionals are on there good. Okay, so there you go. Now, the only thing left to do is take some of the pearls, and just the basic pearls, and just put them on your tree if you like. You don't have to do that either. And then take the Wink of Stella, and where did it go? There it is. You want to shake it up really good. And what I like to do is test it on a piece of scrap paper before I use it on my card. Okay, make sure it's coming out well. All right, and then I just took my card and I just went just right along here where the paper is torn, and that's all there is to it. Okay, hope my head's not in the way. I like to do this last again because it takes a few minutes to set. And just going to go all along the top here. Okay, and I'm going to go on this layer as well, just right on the edge where the paper's torn. Now you could also use the puffy snow that we now sell. I like the glitter of this. Puffy snow you put on the same way, but you use your heat tool, and when you heat it, it puffs up and adds dimension. But for this card, I'm just using my Castella here, and that's all there is to it. There she is, my little girl. Okay, I'm not going to take the time to put the pearls on because, you know, I want to get done as soon as possible so you don't stay here and have to watch me for hours on end. Okay, now I did not do anything to the inside of the card. It's blank. I have not decided yet what I want to do. So I'm probably going to end up just taking a piece of the Blushing Bride, putting it down, and adding another layer of the Whisper White over top of it with one of these stamped greetings. Probably, since I'm using Warm Wishes, I will probably use Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Now these gnomes are not just for Christmas. It's got the Christmas greeting here, but you can use them for ordinary any day cards. You can make them into fall cards, you can make them into summer cards. You can use them in all sorts of ways. They are not just for Christmas. In fact, after this class is over, I'm going to use a couple to make some fall cards for my grandchildren. And I will show you those when they're done, if they're not done yet. Okay, so I'm going to clean up my mess again, and then we're going to go on to the next card.